Good evening. Today is December the 24th, Christmas Eve. And tonight, very briefly, I would like for us to take a look at what many call the Christmas story. Many believe that Christ's birth is the Christmas story, but it's not. There's another part to it, and it's a part that's often overlooked by many. It's found in Matthew chapter 2, beginning in verse 1. Now, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he who has been born king of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him. When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. So they said to him, In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had secretly called the wise men, determined from them what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, Go and search carefully for the young child, and when you have found him, bring back word to me that I may go and worship him too. And of course, this was a lie. We're going to find that out here in just a few more verses. So picking back up again in verse 9, we read, When they heard the king, they departed, and behold, the star which they had seen in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. Then they saw the star, and they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And when they had come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented gifts to him, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Then being divinely warned in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed for their own country another way. Now, when they had departed, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, take the young child and his mother, flee to Egypt, and stay there until I bring you word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed for Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the Lord through the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt I called my son. Then Herod, when he saw that he was deceived by the wise men, was exceedingly angry, and he sent forth and put to death all the male children who were in Bethlehem and in all its districts, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had determined from the wise men. So, why did Herod want to kill the Christ child? Why did he want to stop such a wonderful thing as Jesus Christ being born unto the world? There's a story that's often shared this time of year. Kids love it. I like it as well. And if you would allow me, I'd like to use it as an illustration to make the connection for our devotion tonight. Here's the story. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch who lived just north of Whoville did not. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm-lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find some way to keep Christmas from coming. You know, it seems like Christmas has always had that kind of effect on certain people. In our present age, the Christ of Christmas is so despised by so many that there are certain groups who have levied lawsuits to anyone who would mention Christ during the Christmas season. Now, it's not so much Christmas that they have a problem with, but rather the Christ of Christmas. But why? What is it about the story of the birth of the Christ child that causes so much animosity? Let me share this with you. One author wrote, he said, on a trip to the Holy Land, I bought a nativity set for my Sunday school. He said it was carved out of olive wood from Bethlehem, and it had all the traditional figures like sheep, oxen, wise men, and shepherds. Of course, Mary and Joseph, and the baby Jesus. He said, upon returning home, I went through the security at Tel Aviv airport, and he said, I remember thinking to myself, they won't check my nativity set. But they did. Each figure was carefully scrutinized and even taken away for examination, x-ray examination, in fact. The security officer told my friend, he said, we must make sure there is nothing explosive in them. But what he didn't realize was that there is something very explosive about the Christ child. There's something explosive in the story of Jesus Christ. And nowhere is that made more clear than here in our story of Herod. So, a question that just begs to be asked, why would Herod, such a successful king as him, why would he be so upset with a baby being born in Bethlehem? So upset that he was willing to massacre every child in Bethlehem to make sure he had destroyed this one innocent babe. Well, a lot of Herod's motivation came about because he wanted to stay in control of his life, himself, with no outside interference. Isn't it the same way today? If you mention Christ to someone who is outside the Lord, they're not living right, oftentimes you will be met with hostility or denial or just be flat out ignored. You see, here in America, folks will tolerate just about any religion. But when you mention the name of Jesus and you bring up the story of Christ's birth, well, just watch the fireworks start. Why? Because Jesus exposes a heart problem. That being a heart with no room for him. You remember the words of the Grinch here, where it talks about the Grinch and how his heart was 2 sizes too small. Herod's heart was too small. It was too small for anyone other than himself to reign supreme. And that's why so many today reject the story of Jesus Christ. To acknowledge Jesus as God's Son means that you must also acknowledge that he has the right to their hearts and their minds. Sadly, for many, there is no room for that message, no room in their hearts for God to reign. That's why that's why the Christmas carols that we sing. You know, we sing a lot of Christmas carols, and for people who are not religious, people who don't acknowledge God, these Christmas carols are quite offensive. I want you to give some serious thought to the meaning of some of the following lyrics. I'm going to share just a few. These are some lyrics to some of the more popular Christmas carols. The first one, what child is this who laid to rest on Mary's lap is sleeping, whom angels greet with anthems sweet, while shepherds watch are keeping? This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him, laud the babe, the Son of Mary. Or how about, O come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Come ye, O come ye, to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Or how about this one? Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. With angelic host proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Did you catch the message in these songs? Christ the King, King of angels, God and sinner reconciled. Now, Christians sing words of praise like this to Jesus every week. They sing it all the time, not just at Christmas time. So, how do we go about changing the size of people's hearts so that they will make enough room for the Christ of Christmas? Well, let's hear the rest of the story of those Who's down in Whoville. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Po-po to the Who's, he was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two, then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put a hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, and it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded glad. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came, somehow or other it came, just the same. And the Grinch with his Grinch feet, ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled for hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then, well, in Whoville, they say, was that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load to the bright morning light. He brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beef. Toys and gifts and stuff didn't change the Grinch's heart. We're led to believe that it was the Christ of Christmas that did that. I'm glad that for many, Christ is a big part of the Christmas season. But Jesus wants our attention more than just on December the 25th. He wants our attention 365 days out of the year. Have you given your life to Christ by believing on him and being baptized into Christ? That's how we identify with him. That's how we are saved. Is there room in your heart for Jesus? I hope you will think about this message we've looked at tonight as you celebrate this year. Merry Christmas, and may God bless you. Good night.